Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful step-by-step framework for overcoming addiction. And this all comes from Dr. Lane Lassiter, a retired clinical psychologist who brings something special to the table. He doesn't just teach these principles, he's actually lived them. So let's break down his amazing approach to reclaiming your life. And this quote from Will Rogers, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sets the tone for what we're talking about. See, recovery isn't about trying to erase the past, but it is about making sure it doesn't get to call the shots in your present. It's all about putting your energy right here, right now, into moving forward. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking at addiction in a totally different way. Then we'll get into the practical stuff, setting limits, facing your own history, how to manage the day-to-day, and finally, how to change your entire perspective on the whole thing. So first things first, the very first step on this path requires a huge shift in how we think. It asks us to stop seeing addiction as some kind of moral failure and to see it as something else entirely. You see, Dr. Lassiter completely reframes addiction. He says it's not about being a bad person. It's actually a deeply human but totally misguided search for something we all need. Things like stability, love, or just feeling good about ourselves. It's kind of like a survival tool that just completely backfires and it ends up causing way more pain than it ever solves. And this advice isn't coming from some ivory tower. It's grounded in his own personal experience. Dr. Lassiter has been there, he's walked this exact path, and he's really honest about it. It takes time. But he stresses that every single step you take forward, no matter how tiny it feels, is a huge win. Ultimately, the goal is to build what he calls a recovery lifestyle, and it's built on these 4 pillars. These are really the foundations of any good life, right? The real challenge is that addiction is like a wrecking ball to every single one of them, which of course leads us to the most critical step in this whole process. So if addiction is the wrecking ball, how do you protect the building? Well, it all starts with setting some serious, non-negotiable personal limits. This is the absolute heart of recovery. And that brings us to this idea of personal addiction limits. Now, let's be super clear. These are not gentle suggestions. They are firm, absolute, bright red line boundaries. And for most people who have really crossed over into addiction, this means one thing: permanent abstinence. And this right here, this is the core struggle in recovery. On one side, you've got this little whisper of hope, right? The idea that maybe, just maybe, you can go back to social or moderate use. But on the other side, you've got the cold, hard reality. Once a behavior becomes truly addictive, that door just can't be safely reopened. If you leave it even a tiny crack open, it's an invitation to go right back through. This classic line from Alcoholics Anonymous just says it all, doesn't it? And you know what? It's not just about alcohol. It could be about food, shopping, anything compulsive. The principle is exactly the same. You don't lose control on the 10th cookie or the 10th drink. You lose it on the very first one. Okay, so once those limits are firmly in place, the work starts to turn inward. This next part is all about looking at your past with some real, unflinching honesty. Dr. Lassiter suggests this incredibly powerful exercise, literally writing out your own addiction history. By honestly answering these 4 questions, you create a personal blueprint. You look at where it all started, you list out the real-world damage it caused, you weigh the actual costs against the phony benefits, and then, finally, you define the exact limits you need to get well. All right, so you've got a clear picture of the past, you've got your firm limits in place. Now the focus shifts to right now. This is all about winning the daily battle day in and day out, using practical tools to live within your new boundaries. And one of the simplest but most brilliant tools for this daily fight is a little acronym, HALT. Just think of it like a mental fire alarm that goes off when you're starting to feel a little shaky. HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. These 4 states, these are your moments of greatest weakness. This is when your willpower is at its lowest and the pull to relapse feels the strongest. So just managing these basic human needs is a huge part of taking care of yourself in recovery. Now, this perspective, this is a total game changer. Recovery isn't one single, giant, impossible decision. No way. It's a whole series of 50 to 100 smaller, individual choices. Every single time you choose your own well-being over that craving, you're literally building a new pathway in your brain. You're making that new habit stronger, one choice at a time. And that brings us to the final section. And honestly, the most profound shift of all. This goes beyond just managing your behavior. This is about learning to see past the big illusion that addiction sells you. Dr. Lasauter uses this incredible metaphor, and this drawing captures it perfectly. Addiction always presents itself as something glamorous or fun or like an escape. The real key to recovery is learning to look through the bottom of a glass, to see right past that immediate promise and focus on what's really waiting at the end, the inevitable, painful consequences. And this is the choice, laid out plain and simple. Above the surface, the addiction is whispering promises of fun, sophistication, and connection. But recovery gives you the power to see the truth that's hiding underneath, the shame, the sickness, the embarrassment. And holding that stark, true image in your mind, well, that's your greatest weapon. And this is why recovery isn't just about giving something up, it's so much more about reclaiming what was stolen from you. I mean, just think about it. All the time, the energy, the mental space that was eaten up by the addiction, all of that is now yours again, to reinvest in building the life you actually want. Okay, so let's quickly recap the biggest ideas here. First, recovery is a journey of small, consistent steps. Second, you have to confront the active addiction first. That has to be priority number one. For most people, total abstinence is the clearest and most effective path. And maybe most importantly, you don't have to, and you shouldn't, try to do this all by yourself. So, we'll leave you with this final question. Recovery isn't some far-off idea for someday. It's a series of choices you make right here in the present. So think about it. What is one small, concrete, pro-recovery choice that you can make today to move just a little bit closer to the life you really want to live?